Alex Crook of TalkSport has reported that Manchester United are ready to cash in on Alejandro Garnacho to help finance the signing of Matheus Cunha this summer. And with more question marks coming in the form of his suitability for Amorim's system and his somewhat stagnant development under the Portuguese manager, it's time we spoke about the harsh reality of Alejandro. In today's video, we're going to be answering the question, should Manchester United sell Alejandro Garnacho this summer? First, let's look at the player's profile. Garnacho is 20 years old and will be turning 21 in the summer. He's traditionally been a left winger throughout his professional career, but Amorim has opted to play him in the right attacking mid position. He's currently only on £50,000 a week and his contract is set to expire in June 2028, meaning we still have him for another 3 years should we want to keep Garnacho. Garnacho has had plenty of highs during his short stint at United, including but not limited to scoring worldies, producing some electric dribbles, but most impressively, he somehow managed to turn an atrocious cross from Diogo Dalot into a Puskas award-winning bicycle kick. However, what do the stats have to say about his time at Manchester United? Garnacho has appeared in 137 games for the first team, scoring 25 goals and gaining 21 assists, meaning he's averaging a goal or assist every 3 games, which is very respectable given he can't legally drink in America yet. However, the reason we're talking about Alejandro Garnacho today is not because of his output over the last 3 years. It's because of his output this year. This season, Garnacho has managed to produce 9 goals and 9 assists in 51 games, which on the surface looks like a good return for the 20-year-old. But the stats behind the stats tell a very different story. For example, despite having 18 goal involvements, these have all happened in 14 games, meaning that Garnacho has also made 37 appearances this season and has failed to grab an assist or goal. Another shocking stat is the difference between Garnacho's output under Ten Hag/Ruud this season in comparison to his output under Amorim. Under Ten Hag and Ruud, he gained 6 goals and 4 assists. Under Amorim, 3 goals and 5 assists. Given the fact he was only under Ten Hag for 3 months, in comparison to Amorim's 6 months with a youngster, he scored half as many goals. Now, this could be down to many reasons. Garnacho could be at blame for this himself. He has missed a lot of big chances this season, but I believe this to be down to Amorim's system. Simply put, I don't think it suits Garnacho. I think that the positions that Garnacho finds himself in this system do not suit his skill set when it comes to finishing. Under Ten Hag, he was given a lot of freedom to counter, find space, and shoot with longer range efforts. In Amorim's system, which is definitely not a counter-attacking system, he has to instead operate in tighter spaces. And don't get me wrong, Garnacho can operate in tight spaces, but when he does, it's usually to find a pass across goal or space for a cross, which explains why his assists haven't been affected by the change in system, but his goals have. This is something we need to factor in when making the final decision on Garnacho's future, because odds are, if the player isn't getting into positions where he can score, he's not going to be very happy. Garnacho is literally in the top 99% of wingers when it comes to shots taken. He clearly wants to score goals. Will it frustrate the player if he's consistently not in the positions he feels comfortable to score them? To prove this point further, I watched all of Garnacho's goals for Manchester United, and this is what I noticed. The boy loves to curl the ball into the back of the net or hit the roof of the net. I'd like to see someone work with him to vary his style of finishing, because that is one of the many reasons he doesn't convert all of his big chances. It feels as though he's looking for the perfect finish every time, when in reality all he needs to do is make the right connection. Also, if you go back and watch how almost all of his goals were set up, they were counter-attacking goals, or he had lots of space to find his finish, because the ball is coming from a congested midfield area to his wing. There's not too many instinctive finishes, which sounds kind of crazy to say about someone who could finish this, but that's the trend I'm seeing. Now, let's look at the level of opposition that Garnacho has scored against this season. Would it shock you to hear that 44% of Alejandro's goals and assists this season have come against Leicester and Barnsley? There's almost nothing to brag about this season for Garnacho in regard to the level of opposition he's shined against. Yes, he recently got a goal against Newcastle, who are 5th place in the Premier League, and an assist against Arsenal in the FA Cup, but other than that, all of his goal contributions have been against low-level sides in the Europa League, EFL Cup, and Premier League. Last season under Ten Hag, it looked as though the sky was the limit for Garnacho, having picked up 9 goals and 7 assists, and dare I say it, many United fans believed that we may have a Ronaldo regen on our hands, not to mention getting a double against the likes of Aston Villa and Chelsea, as well as the assist for Ahmad's late winning goal against Liverpool in the FA Cup, and even the opening goal in the FA Cup final final against Man City. So it would be fair to say that Garnacho's star power in comparison to last season has taken a hit. And that's led to the question we're answering today. Should we sell or hold out for our star boy? To come to that decision, we will also have to look at Amorim's plans for the player. One thing we know for sure is that Amorim prefers to play Garnacho in the right attacking mid position because he's told us that. He has showed me so many things on the right, maybe better than on the left. I'm still learning about the team. I think he is playing really well on the right. The only problem with that is when Amad returns, where will Garnacho play? Before getting injured, Amad was on track to become our player of the season. So I doubt if Amad was fully fit, Garnacho would displace him, meaning Amorim will have to fit Garnacho into another role unless he communicates with a young star that he would have to share the position with Amad, which could happen. They could fight it out between each other, but why would he choose to do this when he has Antonio Conte, a more accomplished, at the time, manager than Amorim, on his phone telling him how much he wants him at Napoli where the position suits his profile, and he would likely be joining Serie A champions. So unless Garnacho is given reassurances that he's actually going to be a first-team starter at the club, I highly doubt he's going to be staying around anytime soon. Now, let's look at if Amorim will give him those reassurances. Well, Laurie Whitwell of The Athletic had something very interesting to say on Kobbie Mainoo's future at the club, and compared it to Garnacho's. Ultimately, Ruben Amorim's views would come into this. How much is he going to be playing? Does he fit what he wants from a player? I think he's changed or changing his mind on Garnacho. So we know Amorim's language towards Garnacho has changed. But is this simply politeness because he can see that Garnacho is a young player with a good attitude trying his best for the system, while at the same time knowing that Alejandro doesn't suit the system and will most likely ship him out in the summer? Personally, that's what I believe to be the case. When Amorim talks about Garnacho, it does feel as though he's trying to be positive about a player he knows will not be at the club next season. Amorim may be a big fan of Garnacho, but he's not getting emotionally attached because he knows that he just doesn't fit his system. If we compare the language Amorim uses towards Garnacho and then the language he uses towards Mason Mount, a player who hasn't even contributed to anything for us this season, you'll be able to see the difference between a player the manager wants and a player the manager sees as expendable. Just listen to this quote from Amorim. "It can happen in a match. The most important thing for me is that when he has to come back and defend, he does it. Sometimes he overdoes it, but he wants to help the team. He does his best. Sometimes he doesn't make the best choices, but he's not the only one today." Now, I don't know about you guys, but whenever someone says he does his best, yes, it can come off as a compliment for their commitment, but at the same time, it has an air of patronising, as if you did your best, but you're still not good enough. Amorim also has noticed that Garnacho is desperate for goals, and he's commented on how this has affected the team. If you look at Rasmus, Josh, Garnacho, they try to shoot, especially Garner. They want it really bad, but we are not doing things we should with the quality they have. This isn't necessarily demonstrating that Amorim doesn't want Garnacho in his team, but it's still not giving me confidence that he does. Of course, like any player in our team, he has to choose better, especially in the last third. We have to improve as a team to help Garnacho, but he's working hard. I see him as a young kid that wants to improve. No mention of the future, nothing, which you would imagine if you did have a young star and you've come in as the coach, you would make a statement after he's performed well. That would solidify his future here. Also, I did just want to say, I've got nothing against Garnacho. I think he's a great guy. I defended him when our own fans were calling him out before a match. I think he's a good family man. He does a lot of positive things for the community, like recently, Ruben Amorim and Garnacho held a meet and greet with a group of kids at Carrington. But sport is a cutthroat, performance-based business, and I have a feeling that Garnacho is just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ineos are fully backing Amorim, and this means that if any current players don't suit his system, then they'll be gone. Not to mention, Ineos are desperate for transfer funds, and the sale of Garnacho would be straight up profit, given he's an academy graduate. The question at this point is, who do we sell Garnacho to? As mentioned earlier, Napoli and Antonio Conte have been keeping tabs on the Argentine, but Chelsea have also been lurking for another young talented player whose career they can destroy. If it's up to me, I would be devastated to sell Garnacho to Chelsea, and under no circumstances do I want to see him play for them. The ideal scenario, should he leave the club, is we sell him to Napoli for around £50 to £60 million, but we include a sell-on clause so he can make some money should he eventually end up in Real Madrid like his idol. Although it's painful to say, I do think that Garnacho needs to leave Manchester United this summer. If we did keep Garnacho and he just doesn't suit the system, then all that would happen is his transfer transfer value would diminish each game that goes by. The only scenario I see where Alejandro Garnacho stays at Manchester United is if Amorim is 100% confident that he can get Garnacho to fit his system. What do you think will happen with Garnacho? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to smash that like button for more honestly biased sports content. But for now, Godspeed.